I love a good intro. Where's she going?
So yeah, congrats on Barbie Girl coming
Hey, thank you. No, it was fun.
We love her. We love a good cover song and making it as cunty as possible. Also, shout outs to Aqua because, like, man, it's a genius song.
Yeah.
It's a masterpiece. No wonder it was a big ass hit. It's like such a clever concept, a great message.
And it's dark too.
Yes, that's the
That's
point
what
of it.
that's what I did in some of the parts in it.
Yeah. It's like the girl, the Just a Girl song from Gwen Stefani or from No Doubt. Wow. One of my favorites.
Oh yeah, fucking that shit's
Ever.
crazy.
It's like the dynamics and the complications of being a woman. And like Barbie is responsible for, like, you know, Barbie, Disney, a lot of the stuff we grew up on is responsible for putting women in their place or whatever. Like, what do they say?
Unattainable fantasy.
Yeah,
shit,
like
whatever.
reinforcing gender norms.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, we can flip this. We can change this. It's like we can't fix it if we don't confront it. So I love when people are able to make it fun and be really tongue in cheek and cunty about it. It's really great.
Yeah. What do you guys think of our new table? We got a new table.
Yes, for those of you that are on the Patreon, you can see that we have added a table to the House of Herby podcast set. We noticed something really funny that happened. We put the table in, and Nick all of a sudden had better microphone etiquette.
Yeah. Better placement.
He was leaning into the microphone better. And I also felt like we put the cameras up and we were like, oh, it looks better. Our energy is better because there's something like sturdy in front of us, which is so weird. Why the fuck did that happen?
Yeah.
I don't know. But
That doesn't make any sense.
It's a great vibe. And I kind of feel like I'm sitting at the table with you now.
You do.
See?
And everyone watching should feel the same way. Patreon.com/House of Herby if you're interested.
We should do an episode on designing the space because this is something that you would not think that would do anything.
So-
and then when you do it, you're like, oh my God, why the fuck didn't we do this?
That's what I wanted to talk about today was how to design, because we just got our new appliances in the office.
Why don't we talk? We can talk about that if you want.
If you follow my Instagram, you can see like the before and after is stunning. It's like it went from like a normal kitchen to now freaking, you know,
Green.
Gothic tiki apothecary dream.
Yeah, it is a really cool kitchen.
So shout out to Big Chill, because Big Chill makes like these appliances that are any color of the Pantone. Any color you can imagine. And it took a while for them to come. We didn't have appliances for like a year, but they're glorious.
Minor detail.
And now we're like, what are we going to bake? I don't know. Something. So welcome back to another episode of House of Herby, your safe space for self-discovery, bad bitchery. I'm Queen Herby. This is Jedi Nick.
Hey.
Your favorite hosts of your favorite podcast. We're so grateful to have you. Thank you for listening. Today's episode, you're definitely going to want to hear, because this is all about happiness, which we also like to say happiness. We like to just put the emphasis on the wrong syllable because then it makes it fun. So this episode is about happiness or happiness, however you want to pronounce it, and cultivating happiness. Because what I learned in my, I always do the research for you queens and try to make this as simple as possible. Happiness is something you have to cultivate like a garden. It's literally, you have to like tend to your happiness.
Yeah.
And so I was like, damn, let's talk about it because, bitch, it's a struggle out here.
It is. Especially now, especially for creatives, especially for anybody trying to like keep their fucking shit together, Carol. It's really intense. And we've just been having so many different conversations with so many different artists and people in the arts that are having like a really hard time. Look, being an artist, being a human in general is intense mental therapy and health and stuff, but being an artist is like really intense.
It is,
it's
because
very exposing and weird, and just there's a super uncomfortable, and it can be quite a pendulum swing of emotion.
Definitely.
Highs are incredible, lows are fucking nothing worse.
And we talked about why in the Black Sheep episode a couple weeks ago. But basically, you as a creative person, so even if you're an like in the closet creative, so you still haven't come out and like done your thing publicly,
you don't need to be
that's okay.
You don't need to be a songwriter to be creative either.
My theory is literally everyone is a creative. They just don't know it yet.
Right. Oh yeah, totally.
But if you are creative and you found the courage to start sharing your ideas and your art with the world, because we need your art, you're finding out that, wow, people don't accept me necessarily, or they're not like raving in the mountaintops like, yes, this person's art is amazing. Like being creative is hard. And experiencing happiness when you're basically an outcast of society, right? It's not cool yet for everyone to be an artist. I hope in the future, maybe in our lifetime even, we'll get to see everybody really expressing themselves and being authentic.
Yeah.
Because now we have the internet and it's like free to share your art, and people are able to find their niche and find their audience and their tribe and their communities. So yes, we're on our way there, but this is kind of like a coping episode for like how to understand how happiness works in your brain and your body, and then how to cope at the times when you aren't happy. Because let's start with the definition. I mean, what is happiness? Do we want to just take a stab at it, like free ball it?
An absence of sadness.
Okay.
Absence
of sadness. Yeah. I would say more than that, just like feeling good.
Yeah, probably.
Is that happiness? Is like feeling good? That's the most simplified.
Yeah, feeling an expression of joy, something like that.
Yeah.
I feel like happiness, for me, I always think peace. I feel like they go together.
Peace
and contentment.
That's interesting that you say that, because it's actually, I have a chart right here of the vibration of possibility. It's the Dr. Hawkins chart.
It's the same scale, yeah.
One of my favorite tea companies, so I'm just going to shout her out, Magic Hour Tea. They had this little mailer insert, and it was the chart of consciousness. And I was like, holy shit, she calls it the vibration of possibility, which is so sexy. And basically joy, which I would equate with happiness, is at the very top, right underneath peace and enlightenment. So peace and balance actually come after, like they're even a higher vibration than joy and happiness. So I think we'll end the episode with what the fuck is peace? Right? And we could even do a whole different episode on that. I'm still trying to understand what peace is, and I'm definitely seeking it.
Are you?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. Once you understand how happiness works, you're like, oh, damn, this shit is flinty.
But also, like, happiness is especially in today's world, there's like Instagram, there's like faux happiness, or there's like
highlight reels.
Oh,
and comparison is a huge topic on this shit.
Comparison is a huge thing. But in today's world, being happy it can sometimes just be like not happy.
Right. So the definition, according to Webster's Dictionary, is a state of well-being, feeling of joy, contentment, and other positive emotions, but also a sense that one's life is meaningful and valued. Isn't that very sweet?
Yeah.
It is the feeling, like the sense of meaning, having meaning and purpose, which is like one of our first episodes, find your purpose. So everybody wants to be happy, but nobody understands it.
Yeah.
It's not something we are taught in school. Like, okay, by the way, this is like a feeling of well-being and belonging and meaning that you're going to need to survive. No, we don't even talk about it in school. Did you talk about happiness in school?
No.
I don't think anybody does. So for a long time, for me personally, my relationship with happiness was, I was like, yo, once I get recognition for my music and famous and I have money and wealth and abundance, I will be happy.
Right. All external.
Yeah. So it's not true. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler.
Shit, son.
It's not like it can't keep going.
It was a wild realization to me.
Wild.
Because I grew up in a small town in Nebraska, and then I got to the big city, and then I blew up on the internet. And then there was nothing cooler than that. Like, I literally got like my record deal, and I got a song on the radio. I got to perform on Saturday Night Live. And then I was like, what? I'm actually no happier than I was before. Maybe a little less because I was confused on a more regular basis. So I'll say it louder again for the kids in the back. It's not like happiness is an inside job. You're not going to find it outside yourself.
Yeah.
So what the fuck does that mean?
Yeah, I know. So that means
it's so fleeting.
It's so fleeting if it comes with any kind of outside attachment. So if it is based off of anything external beyond yourself, including relationships, including fucking, anything, then it will be something that is fleeting and not completely sustainable.
No one
You know
can
what I'm
be
saying?
happy all the time. I think we all, for some reason, subconsciously, and like we didn't think this through, but we were like, we're going to reach happiness and just stay there forever.
Dude, I think it's the fantasy of the fairy tale. Okay, so it's like, and then we lived happily ever after, and we never fought about what we're gonna eat for dinner or the remote. It's like, no, you fucking did. There were all kinds of problems.
Yeah.
Okay, fucking Prince Charming went off and, fucking had his couple of, went out of town for 2 weeks. Where were you, bro? You
Yeah, we don't know. They don't have cell phones.
He was
It
in Vegas.
horseback.
Yeah, it was just horseback.
Yeah.
We think it's this crazy, unsustainably ecstatic place. Okay? And it's like happiness is like
Ecstasy.
all the
Bliss.
time. And that's not a sustainable place to be.
Our brains aren't even made for that. Your brain can't chemically do that. It's like serotonin and
Can't
what's
even
the other one?
do that, man.
That's not possible.
Serotonin and Beckytonin.
Anytime you overuse like any of those substances in the brain, it just like shuts off the receptors.
Yeah.
That's
Eventually,
like how everything works.
Well,
So-
everything needs to recover.
Yeah.
After having an intense high like that, if
duality.
you experience these things, it's always going to have to fill back up again. That's not something you're going to be able to cheat.
That blows my hippie mind sometimes, realizing that duality is like so prevalent. Like everything in your existence has one thing and the opposite exists.
Yeah.
Like this realm of physical earth is so dual.
And it's an interesting thing, sidebar, but so enlightenment is when you are beyond that.
Yes, you reach unity.
Yeah.
The duality becomes unity.
It's all, you see it all as on the same scale. So you're zoomed all the way out. Do you just see it? It is the same thing.
Yeah, what I notice is what I'm slowly understanding about enlightenment or like that state is that it's not really as exciting. Like
No, this is the thing.
its peace is actually very still, and there is no storytelling. There's no back and forth because everything is.
There's no drama. Yeah, you're
So
at peace.
damn, so this is how you know if you're ready for enlightenment or not, or just if you don't want to be in peace, the state of peace all the time. It's okay. You're on your journey. And we're going to talk about that duality of like going from sadness to happiness and all these in-betweens, because there's like disorders that arise from this. Like some people don't feel happiness for a very long time, and that's called depression.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And so they give you medications that help to boost those chemicals or, stop other ones. It's very interesting. But no one can be happy all the time. I think that's that's what they don't tell you in school that we need to talk about on this fucking podcast. Sometimes you and I talk to each other in percentages. I say, Nick, how much of the time are you happy? And what do you say?
80.
80%. That's a happy fucking person.
Is it? Is that high?
I would
is that too
say,
high?
let us know in the comments, like, what is your percentage? I think this is the only way we can measure this and like learn how to increase it. Because by the way, it's not a linear thing. Like you're not going to always be at 80%. Like some days you're on fucking 20
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
or less.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes you're at like 90 or 100. So it's going to fluctuate. But what we want to focus on in something so fleeting is that we're just raising the overall level over time. It goes back to our consistency model and all this shit. Like, can we just raise your happiness level overall? Still with the fluctuations, and hopefully, like you said, get the pendulum to stop swinging. So let me know in the comments, what percentage of the time in your life are you happy? Is it 80%? Is it 30%? Is it 45%? Really curious.
So the pendulum, all of the spiritual concepts, all of the fucking Buddhas and the Jesuses and the Tom Cruises, all the concepts are the same, where just get the pendulum. If you can live your life in ways that you don't get the pendulum to be swinging back and forth so violently. All right, because that way that the highs won't be as, and it's an interesting thing as you're studying this and trying to use it in your everyday life. Like, it almost feels like you're taking some of that intense happiness out of the equation a little bit.
Dialing it back.
And at first it feels like it's like less than. It's not, but it does. You kind of do get that response.
Like I said, it feels boring to be at peace.
You're trying
like,
to keep the pendulum from just swinging at least less violently. Because when you have those huge epic highs, there's no other way than to avoid it, that you're going to have these epic
because
lows.
it has to balance itself out. Energy works this way. It doesn't ever.
It doesn't seem like anything you can cheat so far that we've learned.
I mean, even when we first came on the scene as Carmen, we were like in interviews, like, oh like so fucking excited, y'all.
Dude, those interviews were
like,
so cringy.
I'm
those
sure
are so hard for
I'm
me
sure
to watch.
if you were 10 years old watching it, you were like, wow, this is so exciting because it's like a children's show.
Mom, what's cocaine?
Yeah, but over time we have learned how to keep our energy at a more sustainable, because this is another thing, we wore ourselves the fuck out.
Yeah.
That was way too many highs.
You're beat up.
Way too many lows. I was thinking about a
Constantly
Carmen
sick.
song the other day. Over time, the high, neon lights,
Neon Love.
neon love.
I remember that one.
That's a great song. We were starting to recognize that this wasn't sustainable.
Yeah.
It was a really
That
well.
was
We wrote that with.
Martin Johnson, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Marty.
that's right. So great.
I've never called him Marty before. I don't know.
Marty. Hey.
Oh yeah, Marty, my guy.
Okay, so we know that happiness is here, and then sometimes it's not here, and we're measuring our overall percentage because our goal is to raise our overall level of happiness all the time. Abraham Hicks calls it contrast, actually, to take the emotional charge out of it. She's like, it's not like having a bad day, it's just contrast.
Right.
And I love that she calls it that, because without contrast, we can't grow as souls.
You also wouldn't know what happy is.
You wouldn't have, because
if you don't have anything to compare it to.
Yeah.
When you have everything go perfectly right all the time and there are no problems, like then you don't know what. Hold on, let me say this a better way. When you have no comparison to it, then you don't even know what you're dealing with. You don't know that you're happy until you experience something really sad.
Right.
And you're like, oh fuck, I'm sad as shit right now. I guess that means back then I was fucking happy.
Yep.
But really, it felt as like contentment. Just being content is a huge, again, this is a huge spiritual thing that everybody teaches. Being content, try to be content more than ecstatically happy. Mm-hmm. And that will lead to more happiness.
Right. So it is, I mean, joy and happiness is a really high vibration. We want to encourage you to seek happiness and the pursuit of happiness, right?
Happiness.
But there's always the level above it, which Alex mentioned so eloquently in the beginning of this episode. Like peace is that like sort of it's a balance. It's a balance. So, okay. How do we make happiness sustainable then? If that's the goal, we want to harness, this is like a beast, a wild beast that we can abuse and overuse, and then we bounce back too far. It's like we're trying to get that pendulum swing to be less intense.
Less dramatic, yeah.
Yeah, and we know that it has to come from within, right? It's an inside job. Happiness is an inside job.
Right.
We know that's true, but like why? Why is that true? It's a perspective you choose, and you have to like train yourself. It's like, what the fuck? This is so stuff we hear all the time, but it's like, what does this even mean? So I looked up Aristotle, and he says there's 4 levels of happiness. I thought this was really fascinating. And I don't know, was he Latin or something? Because the words were kind of hard to read. But we translate it. We got it, okay? So the first level of happiness, this is so fascinating, is happiness from material objects. Okay, so he calls it laetus or something like that. So where are my online shoppers at? Okay, you get your online shopping products in the mail and you open it, and for like 2 minutes, you're so happy. And then 2 minutes later, you're onto something else. Okay, so this is like this first level of happiness is like from material things, and it's intense and it's short-lived. And obviously this is external only. So you can receive happiness from external things, but it's very short.
Right.
So
it's not sustainable.
So Aristotle is saying this is okay to celebrate and to utilize this level of happiness as long as it's not your only source.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? Mm-hmm. It's okay to enjoy the pleasures of level 1 happiness, this materialistic happiness, as long as it's not your only one. The second level of happiness is ego gratification. So we started material, and now we're like ego gratification. So this level of happiness comes from comparison and self-promotion. This is so fascinating. Being admired and recognized for being better than other people, winning. And let's say your Instagram post got 1,000 likes, and you're like, fuck yeah, bitch, I'm the shit. But then the next day you're unsatisfied again.
Right. The next day got 32 likes.
Yes. So it creates frustration and worthlessness. So the second level of happiness is still external. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
So that ego gratification, that's why comparison is dangerous, because it's like, ooh, don't let the pendulum swing on this one, sis.
Yeah.
because it feels good. And again, I think it's okay because like we have to promote ourselves, especially as creatives, and we need your art. Like we need you to put yourself out there. But remember, the second level of happiness is only like going to get you so far. And you need these next two. It's good. There's like 2 that are external and 2 that are very much internal. So happiness level 3, this is the breaking point. Yay. Doing good for others and making the world better.
Okay.
So that's a level of happiness that comes from within. Mm-hmm. And there's still limitations to this level 3. I'll get to that. So it's called beatitudo. I'm not saying that right. But the human desire for connection, goodness, meaning, compassion, unity, and love. So this is now on my chart, on my wicked good chart here, is the level of love. It goes love, joy, peace. Those are the top. That's the top vibrations before enlightenment. So at this point, you're feeling that and you're helping others, right? So this level 3 of happiness is longer lasting and there's this deeper feeling of happiness. So it's definitely better than getting online shopping stuff in the mail. But the limits are human imperfection. So you're doing good things for others, but like sometimes other people disappoint you.
Right.
Sometimes other people are jealous of you or vice versa, or you risk getting hurt by others. Mm-hmm. And this is a part of life.
Right. Again, guaranteed to happen at some point.
Guaranteed to happen. So once again, we need to develop coping strategies for this. So level 4 happiness, which she calls perfect happiness. So it's like sublime beatitudo. It's just like the other word, but they added the word sublime. This level of happiness is hard to describe. Okay. So it's balance, which is so, again, what Alex eloquently said, that peace, transcendence, connecting to the universe, spirituality, woo-woo shit, or philosophy, or science, or art. Hello, we need your art. And finding answers to why we exist. So the greatest, most sustainable, most profound and fulfilling feeling of happiness is from woo-woo shit, or just self-discovery and discovery of the self in relationship to the universe and this unity shit.
Because you're communicating with your other entity, your soul, whatever the fuck you want to call it. And that is never going to leave. That's you.
That's the eternal you.
That's
like
the actual you.
This is to me proof that
that's the only sustainable part.
Even skeptics who are like, nah, fuck this woo-woo shit. It's like, oh, you're not like happy. The only source that we've found, and even Aristotle was saying this like 1,000 years ago, like that's the only source of true happiness.
He must have been smoking some crazy weed.
You
ever think about that? These guys just like fucking like, woo, I just discovered 4 levels of happiness, people.
He didn't know it would be on House of Herby in 2023.
Oh my God, I love her.
So that's fascinating.
My wife loves her.
Yeah, those are super helpful. And I just love those 4 levels of happiness, like material, ego, helping the world, which it, like being in a service oriented career is fulfilling. I love what I do, Yeah. And then just seeking the answers and enjoying the journey of discovering like, why do you exist? That's so tight.
Yeah. I mean, you could argue that's the fucking reason we're here in bodies to begin with.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is nice though, because I think that's a good point of because like everybody's like, if you're happy from material things, like you're an idiot. And it's like, no, appreciate that. It brings you joy.
Nothing brings me more joy is like reading about Reiki and then buying like more crystals.
Yeah.
Those things, because I'm seeking why I'm here and I'm doing number 1, which is like buying shit on the internet.
It's still observe, still be grateful for the fact that you're feeling joy from it, but just know that it's very fleeting.
Yes.
And it's going to go away and you're going to have to keep chasing. It's like, what is it called? It's like chase the carrot.
Yeah.
To chase the carrot things. Because the music industry, so many things are set up in human life, earth, are set up this way that are just, you never actually catch it. You know what I mean? So
I think this saying comes from like they would hold a carrot in front of a donkey to get it to keep walking.
Right.
How sad is that?
Right. Because it's on a stick or whatever.
It never gets the carrot.
It never gets the carrot. Oh, Eeyore.
It makes me so sad.
It's all right. We'll give him a carrot later.
Yeah. He needs happiness.
He needs happiness. He needs the goddamn carrot. But it's a metaphor for egoic happiness.
Right. Totally.
So it's, anything external. Well, but it's smart, like you said, to be able to appreciate it when you experience it, though. Because otherwise, then you're just, just missing happiness.
I
You
think
don't
it's a
wanna be in that.
layered. We have a 4-part layered plan for you.
We have a
I think you need to be
multi-onion-
seeking like your why you're here and what inspires you and woo woo shit like that. I think you need to be doing something in service, even if your job is not being in service of others, even if you just spend time listening to your sister's problems on the phone for 3 hours. Okay. That's service. That gives you a level of happiness and joy.
Who's paying for those phone
And
bills?
then on top of that, if you also are putting your art out there and trying to get likes on social media and you're buying shit online, like I think those things, some combination of those, but that's like the tier.
So Eckhart breaks it down into you have, and this is even a thing with all of, I think Napoleon Hill or somebody, this is like a recurring, there's inner, your inner purpose and your outer purpose.
Okay.
And usually for most people, so and everybody pretty much has the same inner purpose, which is, figure out who you are, reach some form of peace and happiness and, coexistence.
Some people are closing off that part of them. They
Well, of
might not
course.
seek that.
And that's, but that's everybody's
And
kind
our
of meaning
mission-
of life shit, right?
And I feel like
then,
our mission is to help people get into that shit.
right. But then your outer purpose is more of like, okay, well, I have a body. I need to like feed it. I need to clean it. I
To
need
survive.
I need to like, sustain it still and be able to like, stay around and learn what I gotta learn.
So I can keep denying myself my discovery of
or
myself.
whatever. But he's like, there are two parts to this, and the more together those can be, the more on the same purpose that you can slowly begin to make them the same, that you're gonna just be so much more happy. And things will have so much more meaning and purpose in general, and just all these wonderful things start happening. So he was like, if you can slowly start to align your inner purpose with your outer purpose,
Got it. That makes sense.
yada do.
We have a lot of episodes on ways to get there, kids. Okay, so some more interesting facts. So other ways to access happiness are through pleasure, so doing things you enjoy. Duh, right? But some people just don't make time for that.
Yeah.
Engagement, so make sure that you're actually interested in your activities and you're connecting with other people. So like sometimes we do things like to please others, but we're not doing anything we actually like to do. And then on top of that, then engage with other people and sort of be seen for who you are. Meaning, they say, do like what you do needs to matter, right? In some way. Sustainability. So that's, my biggest thing with happiness is like, well, is this something that's going to continue for you?
Right.
Or are you just like, if you just keep, like for me, I just kept buying crystals and I was like, at some point, there's no reason for me to buy crystals anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, this is not,
there are no more crystals.
the crystals I got. Beads, for example. Okay. That was another, I was like, is this me like trying something unsustainable where I'm just like addicted? Because I see this in some of my relatives too. Like people in my family that collect things like obsessively. It's like, oh, this might run in my family.
Really?
And it might just be a way of like seeking it's almost like a drug addiction.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
What do they call hoarders?
Yes. Or like people that use shopping as like a way to like soothe themselves.
Yeah.
You just have to be aware.
Credit card therapy?
Right. Like, is it sustainable? And then make sure you have those other levels of happiness popping off too.
Yeah.
Balance, again, like the ability to observe the ego and allow life to unfold for you. Because there's going to be bad days. You're going to have, like, news alert, you're going to have bad days.
Yeah, you're going to have a lot of fuck shit you're going to have to deal with.
So let's learn
you
how
can't
to...
cheat it. You can't run from it.
No. Let's learn how to practice coping strategies and patience. Because when you do have a bad day and you're sitting there and you've practiced, so you're ready for this shit, and you're watching yourself have a bad day and you're not judging it and you're waiting it out, you're being patient with yourself because eventually your state of happiness will return.
Yeah. Dude, being present is a thing that I've been actively practicing, and it's amazing.
Is that peace?
I think you could argue that, or you know what it is? It's allowing. It's constantly allowing. It's only the high vibrations. I think it's probably only like love, joy, or peace because there are no problems. You're constantly here right now. So there's no. You're not worried about anything in the past. You're not anxious about anything in the future. None of those things are real right now. It's just right now. That's right now. So. It's a lot, but it's a very, it's funny how fleeting it is when even actively for like probably months now, really practicing it. And it's still immediately, all of my body, my ego immediately tries to constantly get out of it all the time. It's always like trying to fight back almost. And it's like, oh, wow, interesting. Especially with today's modern world with phones.
Yeah.
And like, there's
your
so
only
many
power-
distractions.
Your only power is to learn to observe it.
Yeah.
Siphon it off.
And be present. And then when you are present, then you can able to access these things really, like everything relaxes, and then you're just like, oh, I'm actually pretty fucking happy right now. And to me personally, it was about when you do observe everything, because you're right, you're observing everything's fucking so much that when you get really high, when you get a really high experience, a really happy experience, like
Right.
an ecstasy experience, you observe it, and at the core of it, it's still just an emotion.
Oh, this is wonderful. And you can allow yourself to feel that emotion.
And it still allow yourself to feel
But
it.
you're also, the inner you is like, bitch,
But
this
almost
is not.
but it's almost like you start to become over it in some ways.
Yes.
And you stop trying to chase it so much.
Yeah, it's like the song Sade in the 90s. It's like she used to give a fuck, now she's jaded. And
There
there's
you
something
go.
so empowering about that. Like, oh,
Yeah.
this doesn't faze me anymore.
It's letting go, man.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Okay, so there was a poll that they did on some website that was kind of fascinating to me. And this kind of gave me a gauge because I said, what's your percentage, right? How happy are you? And Nick was like 80%. And how he's reaching for the scotch, which means
you
you
don't
are
have to.
really happy. You're really enjoying.
Doing what?
So this is like
you.
on the first level of happiness, like scotch is good in the first level. And then after that, you're like, oh, it's poison,
Oh, yeah, that's right.
but we will drink it.
Just tiny sips. You know what I'm
So
saying?
this website was like, we want you to vote for your happiest moments in life. And can you guess what people said for their happiest moments in life?
Their happiest moments in life.
I'm talking
Family
about the
Feud.
general population.
Yeah, Family Feud.
Yeah,
Okay,
it
hold
is.
on. We have 30
Ding,
seconds.
ding,
No,
ding.
wait, that's Jeopardy. Wait, what is this?
Oh.
Okay, I'm bad at shows.
What did people vote for the happiest moment in life?
Okay, so the go-tos,
Yeah,
I'm going to say, are going to
yeah.
be like, my wedding.
Okay, good job. Ding, ding, ding. 80 points.
When I lost my virginity.
That's not on here.
Birth of a child.
Birth
Ding,
of a
ding, ding,
child.
ding. Number one. You have 100 points.
When
Alex
my-
100. Nick has 80.
When my ex-husband died.
No, that's not on
Revenge death? It's not on there.
there. No, that's not on there.
Graduation.
No.
Interesting.
Retirement.
Retirement.
Oh,
The finish line.
yes.
The finish line.
And moving into a new house.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah,
So these are
moving
the
is so fucking stressful.
and the list was a little longer, but literally every single one ended up in one of these categories: the birth of a child, wedding day, retirement, and a new house. So you're telling me,
Damn.
like being born, getting married, which we all know, oh my God, weddings, what a disaster. Retiring, right? Which is such a fucking lie, by the way. Retirement is it's bullshit, honestly. I can elaborate if you want. And getting a new house, it's like, well, yeah, I've done that a few times and it's like very fleeting. So it looks like to me that most people are living on those like first two levels of happiness all the time. They haven't really, having a child is like, damn, like, yeah, it's very exciting and a miracle and everything, but like, that's not really your journey. You've helped somebody else start their journey. And then,
But I can see how that could be very...
and then the wedding day is like, that's not even real. It's like it's like something we do like in culture and
it's
tradition.
contractually real.
And hopefully you'll stay together and that'll be wonderful. But again, that's
Yeah.
not your journey. You're like,
And
I
you're
now have
jaded-
meaning.
You're jaded as fuck because you were a wedding singer
Yeah,
for
I've just
7
seen,
years
I've just
or
seen
whatever.
so many, and people, man, guys, weddings are kind of wasteful too. People spend a fortune, and
Yeah.
But
hey, that's their gig, if
it
that's what they
is,
want.
and you should celebrate love, obviously. But a lot of these
Yeah.
people like barely know each other.
Yeah. What I think it is for me too, especially like the weddings and this whole list, is not. It's like you just maybe people they get told what is going to make them happy,
Right? Totally.
and then these are things
Yes.
that you just go with this. Yes, this made me happy.
Yeah, like
And I'm not
nobody on
gonna
the list
and I'm not
said the
saying-
day I started my own business, or the day that I moved out of my parents' house, or the day that I realized my purpose, or the day that
Right.
none of those were answers. And that was just shocking to me. But I understand why this is the way it is. And I just want to talk about it. I just want to talk about
Could
it
be generational too. Like that could
be.
it could be changing over
over time.
over time for sure.
Yeah. And maybe we don't all have the same answers. Like, why was 30% of the answers all birth of a child?
Oh, because that's a huge, your
It's very magnificent and wonderful.
your life isn't about you anymore, really. You know, you have
Right.
another thing you have to fucking care for.
So that one's never going anywhere. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's not going anywhere.
Yeah,
But
that's like hard to beat. But I was like, really, wedding day? Like, what about the honeymoon? That's probably way more fun. I would think. Maybe not.
yeah, the wedding.
I don't know. We didn't have a wedding
we
either.
didn't have-
We have no kids. No, this is why I'm angry. We never retired. And we sold all of our houses. We were like, fuck this.
Fuck it.
Okay. Well, anyway, I think that the new form of happiness I hope to see on the next internet poll, maybe in 10 years or something, is that we see more people being curious, because I think also curiosity leads to happiness. For me, I'm as curious as a cat. I'm like, how do you make pants? I really get so much joy
It's a cat
from it.
wearing pants.
So much happiness from pants, and just making and being curious about how things work and how to do things, pursuing my dreams, like just saying, okay, I want to create this world out of nothing. That's so exciting to me. And if you're a creative person, like I want the same for you. We got this table in the podcast set and it like changed everything. And we were like,
So
wow,
much happiness.
we should make this whole like a cafe set. Now I'm like seeing this whole camp fantasy of our podcast set that doesn't exist yet. To me, that's really exciting.
Alex, to the
To the cafe. Being in service to others. There was a day I remember you were around for this, Alex, and I was like, yo, I need to be in service. This is not like an ego game of like, hey, look how hot I am. Here's my song. It's like, yo, we want to like give people.
Well, and we did that. And it was so unsatisfying to us.
Wow.
And I'm not saying it can't be very satisfying
No,
to a
because
lot
level
of people.
2 happiness is that ego thing. But then
Yeah.
the problem was you're like, I'm so hot, look at my song. And some days you get 1,000 likes and some days you get 2.
Right.
And then there's nothing to show for it except people were like, good job. And then it's over. But when you tell people like working out, sleeping, and taking vitamins, and they're like working out at the gym and like changing their life to your music, like that's different.
Yeah.
It's just a different level of fulfillment, I think, for me, my experience.
Yes. Yeah. It was for me too. And it was, again, nobody could have told us these things. We had to experience it ourselves. All of the fucking movies, dude, all of pop culture. It's like we know, even like fame, thinking that, the fame or again, these egoic things will make you happy.
Yeah.
Is being pop star a healthy lifestyle choice?
No.
It wasn't for us.
But I will give you an example of, since this is, again, I don't know 100% truth about anything that I'm saying, but Michael Jackson invented a shoe with a notch, in the heel to grab onto a nail to do the lean forward effect.
Yeah. Totally.
And he patented it. That's how excited he was about this invention of his performance ingenuity.
Yeah.
Like that is, to me, I don't know, like to me, that's such a high level of happiness. Like we don't see artists doing that these days.
Creation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean.
Music artists,
And I think a lot of us, both of us felt the same way too. 'Cause, all of these movies, all of these shows, you guys remember that movie? It's one of your favorites, Spanglish.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
Right. There's this one scene where he comes home. It's Adam Sandler, and he is the chef, and he had just gotten this huge review or something like that. Like sales were through the roof. He had never been more famous. And he comes home like wasted at like midnight. And he's like, I've never been more successful, and I'm the most miserable I've ever been in my life.
Right.
And it's like, it's why? Like, why do those things, and why is it known even in our pop culture that these go hand in hand? But yet we still
seek-
strive for
yeah.
it. And you don't figure it out until you experience it. And you're like, oh,
Yes,
that's what they were
yes.
talking about. The movie Rockstar, the Mark Wahlberg one.
Yes.
Remember that?
Another
Where
great example.
He wants to be, if you guys haven't seen that, he just wants to be this, I'm going to spoil all of it.
Yes. Ruin
Well,
it.
he just becomes like, kind of a rags to riches overnight success thing. And then he sees really what it is and the inner workings of what it is, and ends up just kind of like being a singer-songwriter in a cafe because that's what brings him happiness.
Joy. Yeah.
Joy.
That's the thing that I didn't understand,
That's really what he wanted to be doing.
Yeah. For a while, I was like, well, don't all of us want the same things? No.
No, we don't.
And it doesn't mean that the thing you want is necessarily going to make you the most rich person, but it will make you happy.
Right.
And so there comes a time, actually this happened like last year, we were talking to our friend and he was like, yeah, I think I just decided, like he was working with Label System at the time. And he was like, I just decided to choose joy for myself.
Yeah.
It's like letting go of something you thought you wanted is so
Let
painful.
go of the carrot, man. Once you figure out what makes you happy, then you can just do that or find different ways to do that until you can make a living from it.
Right.
Because I think in today's world, like that is an option. I do really fully believe that. It might take you a long fucking time. But there are ways to make a living from it now.
Yeah. I think the most useful hack from this episode was like, hey, happiness is not what you thought.
Yeah.
There's going to be ups and downs. And what we're looking for is just your overall level, your average level of happiness. We want that to increase if possible.
Yeah.
Because you deserve to feel this. We need your art, and creative people can't avoid that. Like, it's time to face this and be like, yo, this is what happiness is. So it's like a garden. So I want to finish this episode now with a list of things that you can do to increase that overall level of happiness. It is like a garden. We're cultivating optimism. That's what we're doing. We're preparing the soil for plants.
Plant it.
For harvest. So everybody always says in the comments, they're like, wow, Queen and Jedi, like, you guys are so positive, such a good vibe. Like, how do you maintain like so much positivity? And we're like, bitch,
Scotch.
we are not positive a lot of the time. You know, you were 80% happy. I'm probably more like 70. I'm sadder than you.
Oh my God. Saturn return.
So emo. Can you give me more scotch, please?
I'll give you a little sippy sip.
Give me a sip. So, preparing the soil for plants. Positivity. It's annoying, you know? It's annoying to have to try to be positive all the time, but it is something you can train your brain to do. And you don't have to do it in the corny way. You can be cunty about it. You can be like, all right, positivity. I'm imagining the very best outcome for myself all the fucking time. That's hard to do, but it's something you can make like a little game for yourself. Because rather than being like imagining the worst case scenario, what if you're like, psst, well, bitch, what if instead $1 million came in through the window with a stork? That's funny and interesting. Like, how do you train yourself to think of the positive outcomes?
Yeah.
You almost have to act dumb, like you're on like drugs or something. Like.
Well, it's acceptance. I think it's a lot of it. Like it's allowing. A lot of it's allowing.
Okay.
Because you're gonna like why am I not happy? And you're always gonna be like down on yourself. And if you observe, you're forcing something. You're not allowing things to happen. And which is another form of letting go. So if you stop and you allow things to come, then you're gonna realize that there is actually like.
And then you're putting your point of focus on like something to be grateful for, right? So you're like, even something stupid, like, wow, there's a hole in my shirt. Instead of being like, there's a hole in my shirt, be like, oh, that's so sweet. I wonder what adventure I was on when that happened.
Or I have a shirt.
Great. Nice.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
No, but it is, and it does sound kind of, it can be like super corny, but it is.
That little synapse in the brain is what I'm interested in.
And you know what? Totally. And for me, it's less trying to be like super happy and more like Alex was saying. I mean, it is being content, just being present and sitting with your joy for that moment.
I think a negative person would say that's corny. Like when I'm in a bad mood and you're in a good mood and you're like, hee hee, and I'm like,
yeah,
you are
it's like
such a dork.
Yeah.
I get so angry about it. And then I was like, but he's happier than me. Right? So when you're in that angry, sad place, maybe try to like give yourself a fucking break, like a piece of Kit Kat bar, like just break it off.
Accept it.
And be like, I'm going to be really dopey and silly right now.
Yep.
Just because I need to fucking do that. Because Queen Herby said.
Yeah. I was fucking pissed the other day too. And it's still like even though I know how to do all the things, it still didn't matter. Like I was still
it's a momentum pissed. And you just have to wait for it to ride out.
And I was just like, oh shit. So I just kind of had to like, sit with it for a while and just allow it to.
And watch it.
Yeah. Allow it to dissipate. But it still doesn't mean it doesn't happen. Like it definitely still happens a lot.
Yeah. Because experts are like, get a gratitude journal. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. Because it's like, but it's that simple.
Yeah.
You have to like do it like you're at the gym, like training. Optimism takes like training. Another tip, stop feeling sorry for yourself. What? That's really leveling. That really like smashes your whole bad mood because you're like self-pity and victimhood just creates powerlessness. There's no way out of that.
Yeah.
That doesn't work. Like even if you deserve pity, you still have to choose to be dorky and dopey and be like, no, everything's cool, and believe that shit. And you train yourself, and then eventually it just happens.
Yeah, well, I mean, kind of. You can't force it. Yeah, this is where it gets fucking. This is because you can't force yourself. Like if there is some you do have to process it, right?
Yeah, if there's some fucked up shit. If you're sad and angry because of I'm just talking about like normal.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
Yeah. Hormonal. or whatever.
Well, and that's, I mean, you're in a body too that's gonna have a whole bunch of fuck shit you're gonna have to deal with. You know what I mean? And that's gonna affect your mood. It's gonna potentially affect your happiness, and that's why ultimately it is all interior. It's all, nothing exterior is going to make you fully
happy,
sustainably happy.
Yeah. Another question that people ask is, who are you spending time with?
Yeah.
Because this was a clincher for me. I was like, wait, there was a point in my life when I was like spending time with people that weren't positive. Like I was having to hold up the fucking vibe.
Yeah.
And it's exhausting.
I know, it is exhausting.
Like I got migraines.
And it took us a long time to figure that, because that's a people-pleasing thing.
It is.
And it took us a long time to like locate that and understand.
It did. And so really be mindful of like who you're spending time with. I know some people are in small towns where there's only like 3 people to be friends with or something. I get that. I'm from a small town. But you do have to put yourself first and allow yourself to become like this more resilient, happy person. And you can't do that. Like, it's not a safe space to do that when you're being brought down by somebody else all the time.
Yeah.
That's tough. They have to choose that for themselves too. You can't save them.
Yeah.
Avoid overthinking and comparison, obviously,
Comparison is such a fucking slut, dude.
It's a killer.
It's your brain's is like programmed to do that,
to
compare.
You can get happiness from comparison. On those days that you got 1,000 likes, you're like, oh shit, everybody loves me. And then you don't get those likes the next day. So that's extreme the problem with comparison. Yeah,
and it's so prevalent now. Oh yeah, that was a big one for me. And Carmen, that was a very, very difficult crash course in having to figure that shit out for yourself, because there were so many things that I couldn't control, and the comparisons would be happening anyway. And it was like, well, what the fuck, man? This is so like openly just fucked up. This is not something that anybody can control or like deal with, but still the blame or the pressure would still come down on us.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh wow, this is not a happy, sustainable place to be.
And you notice like when you're comparing yourself to others, you start dwelling on problems.
You're only thinking on what's wrong.
You start thinking like, what's wrong with me? And it's like, bitch, what? Stop.
Yeah.
Right? That's when you just have to laugh and give yourself a Kit Kat bar and be like, listen, your hair is amazing.
Give me a break.
And it is almost like you're acting dumb. Like you're like, you just have to be, ignore it. That's the way I can describe the synapse in my brain, because I try to be as positive as I can. It's not all the time.
Yeah.
I'm less happy than Jedi Nick, like 10% at least.
I don't know if that's true. You know what it is?
I am definitely more of a moody person.
Are you?
Yeah,
you're
fuck
yeah. You're a little more, I'm a little goofier. You're a little more serious.
It does, by the way, if your happiness percentage is low, it does give you great art. So don't worry. There's no rush here. This is not a competition.
Oh yeah, no, totally. Yeah, use it. Use it to, spill your guts out into your art there every fucking time.
Yeah. So the next thing is acts of kindness. So we did this on this podcast for a long time. We were like, tell us your acts of kindness.
Oh yeah, we did that.
Yeah. A-OKs. Yeah. It's like random acts of too. You like go up to a stranger and like pay for their groceries and just see how it makes you feel. Like every instance made the person feel great, even if they got nothing out of it material wise. This is really cool. It really, really helps to do this often if you can. And it spreads like a disease, like in a good way.
Yeah.
Because if you do something for that person and they're like, whoa, here's my business card. And then, they're probably really nice to their wife later. Because of you.
That's what happened to me. Yeah, I got a dude's groceries like, I don't know, a month or two ago, and he was like a jeweler.
Yeah.
It's like, oh shit, well, let me give you my card. What do you need? Whatever you need.
Do you have any jewelry?
Yeah, whatever.
And I was like, beads. No, I didn't have beads yet at the time.
No, it's true. Doing something randomly nice for somebody you don't know is like, or if somebody you do know, immediately makes you feel better.
Yeah. And if you believe in karma, it comes back 3 times.
Yeah.
From our experience, that has been true.
Yeah, and it's cool.
Yeah. Okay. So we're developing strategies for coping, because a lot of times people are less happy because of trauma, which we also have episodes about healing trauma that are quite fascinating. We are hoping to get some guests on here so soon for y'all, because we have met some really incredible professionals that actually know what they're talking about, that we can then interview in intense ways.
Are they in LA?
They have to be in LA. That's my rule. My rule is I want it to be IRL. I want them to come to the actual House of Herby and do this.
In the cafe.
Yes, in the cafe that doesn't exist yet. Oh my God, it gives me so much happiness.
Oh my God, let's make it.
So so that's big, is like some things are going to happen in your life that are inescapable and you can't necessarily be happy about them. But remember that happiness comes from inside. It's an inside job. And so healing those traumas and learning how they were saying in these articles, like if you can encounter difficult situations and siphon it off and do all your tools, pull out your toolkit, you can actually find happiness much easier, even in stressful situations, which I thought was cool. It's like, we're working out like a muscle,
Totally.
Optimism muscle. Like I remember when my dad was sick once and he was in the hospital and everybody was so stressed and I was stressed too, but I found myself being like this beacon of support for everybody and it felt really good, which cultivated then more happiness in myself.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, I really don't mind this.
But that initial turning point sometimes is hard to find.
It is.
Yeah. Sometimes that's the fucking doozy right there.
It is.
Yeah. No, it's interesting when I was really thinking of it, like the pendulum is when it really started to make sense for me. Cause I stopped just trying to seek, I noticed I stopped trying to seek like incredible highs,
Yeah.
you know, and it would not come back as far the other way when it did finally land or it was over. So that was an interesting, sometimes people are like it's taking the joy out of life. I get that. That's fair.
Well, if you're elevating to peace, which is above joy on the scale of vibrational scale,
right?
Like peace is above joy. It trumps it.
But take your time. Take your time getting there. You know what I mean? It's not a race. It's not a yeah.
Just be aware. This has been
I think just be aware.
It's been a great episode of like the mental science of happiness and like how it works and the stuff they didn't tell us in school, like the fact that you're not always going to be happy and it's not attainable to be happy 100% of the time.
That's not going to happen, right? And there's nothing wrong with you when you aren't.
There's nothing. Every single person in the planet has it this way. Like unless you reach peace, which even then I get these monks and all these meditators on the top of mountains, like they're not always at peace.
Well, they're not always ecstatically happy. That's
Right.
not the point of it. But it's a deeper, right?
It's a range. Okay, learning to forgive. I'm on my last few happiness tips here. Learning to forgive. That's heavy as fuck. But like letting go of resentment and anger towards people that have hurt you. I mean, that's big because like we said in the Black Sheep episode, like at the minute you forgive people, like really forgive them, not just like, I forgive you, like actually be there and be like, damn, you did the best you could with what you had and what you knew. And then just let it go.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you are in the driver's seat and then you're in control of your own happiness too. That's pretty dope.
Yeah.
Doing more activities that truly engage you. Increase the hobbies that actually bring you joy. Like some people just don't make time for this shit.
Yeah. It is funny.
You were like, I want to watch more sports. And I was like, fucking do it.
Was it the pandemic? I don't know. I just stopped watching sports.
Nobody's fault.
Nobody's fault.
I didn't subliminally tell you not to watch sports. I might have subliminally told you not to watch sports. Every time he has like a football game on, I'm like, it's annoying. Stupid announcers. Sounds annoying. It's just
the
a
basketball
roar.
games are the worst because it's like a little
like, but I do derive comfort from listening to sports now because I grew up with it. So
what's fucked up is when a game does come on, or I forget where the fucking last time I was when the game on, but it does relax me.
Yeah, it's like
because it makes me like
your nervous system.
Well, it's like I used to just watch this for like maybe not the whole game, but even if it was an hour, I would just sit there and watch something for an hour, and I feel like that's almost rare these days.
That's so fascinating. I wonder if they've never studied this, like people that put on a sporting event, like their whole nervous system relaxes, and that's why I don't mind. I don't watch it at all, but I knew that everybody in my household watching sports was relaxed, and that made me feel safe.
Right, because it was a relaxing time
as a community.
Yes.
Weird.
Isn't that funny?
So fucking weird.
So weird.
I wish I knew the percentage of people that actually gave a fuck about the game versus the people that are just traumatized, like wanting that feeling of safety from their family. Yes.
Yeah. Potato chips.
Yes. And we would have all nice snacks and nice drinks and food and stuff on sports. I was like, this is weird programming. Who chose this?
Yeah.
Could we do this?
It's great. It's a hang. It's supposed to just be a fun, chill. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Community hang with the tribe.
Yeah. Exactly.
Get some pigs in a blanket.
It doesn't mean, that you necessarily need to be interested in it.
Yeah.
But I support you if you want to watch sports. I'm sorry.
Well, it is funny because it's doing things that bring you joy for some reason isn't something that we feel like it's an option all the time.
Right.
For me, all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, why? Like, I love going to the movies.
Yeah, so go.
Right. So go to the fucking movies.
Yeah.
It's fucking right there, right
Yeah.
down the fucking street.
And let's say you go to you haven't watched sports for a long time, and you turn in the sports and you're like, oh, it doesn't feel the same. That's okay too.
Is that what you're trying to tell me right
Or
now?
if you go to the
Are you trying
movie,
to inception me right
no,
now?
because I thought I liked going to the movies too, and then I went to the movies recently, and I was like, it's cool. When I'm with somebody I like,
you hate movies.
when I'm with somebody I like, and
Yeah.
we can talk about the movie after. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
But
Because
I
there was
don't-
like COVID, like I didn't see a lot of movies, obviously, in COVID, but,
Yeah.
you know.
Yep. No, it's real. Activities you truly enjoy is something that you lose yourself. Like you forget what time it is.
Yeah.
That's going to increase your happiness, period. It's going to just give you so much. So,
Yeah.
and then the last bits are my favorite bits is become more woo-woo and do more self-care shit. Duh. Like this is proven now. This is proven. Work out, sleep in, take vitamins,
Listen to Queen Herbie.
meditate, manage your stress levels, like all these, get interested in who you are and what gets you going and what slows you down. And
Yeah. Yeah.
if you need to watch some ASMR to relax at night, like do it.
Yeah.
You know, this will increase your happiness.
Yeah. I thought in general, like our own journey with happiness has been, if not just always striving to be insanely happy, start eliminating the things that you know make you sad or bring you down or fucking you up. And none of these things are possible if you're not observing yourself and observing like where you are. And that makes you be present.
Yeah.
So these are all the hacks that are going to just continue. The more that you practice to do this, your life will change.
Yeah.
Your life will absolutely change in the best possible way.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think the reason that at the end of this episode, we are now scientists of happiness. We know that on the scale of consciousness, courage is the breaking point. So that's where like, oh, we're now like no longer in pride. We're willing to be like, oh, we were wrong about this shit. And then you get to willingness, which is like that, the willpower to do things is like so important. And then you're like accepting your fate and you're kind of humbled. And then reason is above that, which is like this me learning shit and sharing it. And like, we want to know like how things work. And then there's love, which is like, we could do a whole episode on love. What the fuck is that? And then joy, which is happiness, which is what we talked about today. And then above that is peace. So I think what you're saying is that ultimately you do have to transcend happiness. Even we were talking about the swinging pendulum and the duality and like contrast. And it's like, okay, I don't think any swing at all at some point is not going to be tolerable. At some point, your soul is going to get so far on your journey where you're like, bitch, can we stop being happy and then sad and then say, stop.
It's like everything else. Eventually you get tired of it and you move on.
The stillness that you feel when you're looking at the mountains. It's the stillness that you feel when you take a moment to be present with your life and you're like, yes. But it's peace.
Yeah.
So I think that's maybe we could do an episode on each of these pieces on the scale.
I think one on courage would be really interesting.
Really fascinating.
Because it is such a huge breaking point in the way he describes it is between integrity and non-integrity.
And if you don't know what we're talking
and
about,
it's such a hard leap to jump sometimes.
If you look up David Hawkins, he's an author, and he and his team did like 40 years of research on where vibrations fall in consciousness. So it's like the bottom is shame, right? And the top is enlightenment. Like there's a whole bunch of beautiful levels in between, and people are now using this and reappropriating it and doing such creative stuff. And we're talking about it on podcasts. I think eventually people will be able to like measure that. Like we'll be able to measure the energies of these.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. So
just
happiness is very high up. I hope we've demystified some of these things for you today because it is very confusing. A lot of people don't even know how to describe happiness. And if you are like some of us where we search for the peace, then maybe you're just ready to transcend it entirely. And that's wonderful too. Wherever you are on your journey is amazing. And we need your art. So I'm glad that you're here seeking this shit with us, being curious.
And I love you guys. Thank you for all listening. If you, if you fuck with any of these episodes or you think like a friend will like them, definitely share them. That always helps get the word out. Send them to a friend.
Yep, absolutely.
Put them on Facebook.
If you're interested in getting more time with us on a monthly basis, I also do my extended aura cleanses on the Patreon. It's patreon.com/House of Herby. Otherwise, we will see you next week.
We out.